how you work on coaching? You work as a coach with your psychology background, or you were making therapy in some cases, or I don't know, you introduce coaching depending on your client. How you do it?
For myself?
Yes.
No, I advertise as a coach with I call it kind of a counseling twist, in that I have the ability to deal with some of the other issues that come up, but if it gets to the point in my room where it's clear the client isn't benefiting from coaching at all, that it's not just minimal anxiety or something, it's serious stuff, then I either back off as the coach completely and just become the therapist, or I refer elsewhere and have that client get additional therapy. Yeah, go ahead. Was it a follow-up?
Yeah, the people that they study, they have previous information about ADHD knowledge, not only that they were diagnosed, but if they really know what ADHD is.
No, and that's one thing I find all the time, that clients do not have a good working knowledge of what is going on, what ADHD is, how it's affecting them. And that's where a lot of these self-esteem issues come in, because they don't fully understand it, so they attribute it to all the wrong things, their intelligence, their motivation, and that's not true. So one very important thing to do in that first session and throughout those sessions is explain it and really get them to understand what's going on.
Sorry, I'm with the National Resource Center at CHADD, and
Okay.
We often tell people who call in that coaching can be a good idea. You know, we tell them there aren't any major scientific studies that prove that coaching is helpful, but there's good anecdotal evidence, or, you know, small scale.
Well, there's some studies now.
There are studies, and I mean, not sort of, you know, but we always recommend it, and then we recommend that they go to the International Federation of International Coach Federation.
Mm-hmm.
Or the
And that's one of
ADHD
these organizations. Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to see if you or anyone could just give us a sort of 1-minute description of what each does, and is it where you will get your credentials?
Well, I think that that's a perfect thing for this evening. That's what Jody's talking about, that they will talk about that. Yeah. Yeah. Right in the back.
I have a question. I work at a university. I was curious about your program, why you chose 8 weeks with college students. What is it that happens in 8 weeks?
Based on the initial case study, that's what they found to be long enough to be able to make some change and realize some goals, but short enough that it could be a study. I mean, you can't have these studies go on forever, and we want to graduate and get our dissertations done. So that was the timing that they came up with that seemed to work.
Was this school on trimesters or semesters?
Semesters, but we didn't start at the beginning of the semester. It didn't coincide. But now myself, I don't limit. When a client comes in my room, I say, we could work 5 weeks and you get it and you take off and go, but that's rare, and I've worked with some clients for multiple years because they just find it helpful. Right here.
I think an easier question, just in your practice, not so much in the study, but in your practice, 2 of the things you mentioned were transitioning and the procrastination thing. Do you put the emphasis back on them to find ways to get over that, or are you helping them with that? Sometimes I'd like get them started in session to get the inertia going, and I just wondered what your...
I probably err on the side of suggestions. I want the accountability to be in their hands, but I am the expert. I am the one who knows and can give ideas. So I don't want to waste an hour of their time, forcing them to think up an idea. So I will
like if they had a project and they couldn't get it started, and we talked about getting it started, but then still wasn't getting it started. Do you ever have them bring that with them?
The actual project?
Get started on part of it with you?
No, what I do more is map out what they can do at home and the time that they're going to take in their planner to work on things, and tricks and strategies they can use to get started on their own. But I'm not a tutor, and I'm not going to sit there and do their homework with them or anything like that.
Then with the transitioning, same thing, you're probably going to lean on the other side, but do you email reminders?
I do. In fact, and I do even if a client midweek once an email or a call, just to check up, say, how's that goal going, how are you doing, I will do that too. Yeah, right here.
Well, when you got these people that don't understand what's going on, what do you recommend to them? Obviously, in a 30-minute session, you cannot give them ADD or ADHD. What books do you use? What do you suggest? So that
There's lots of great books out front, just so you know.
I know, but how do you educate them, and what do you recommend for them?
I like discussion, and what I'll often do is create a goal for that client for them to become more knowledgeable and aware of their disorder. And we'll talk about sites that they can go to, books that they can read, and then they report back to me what they've learned, and then we have a discussion around that in the session.
Did you
What
have
have
them
you
read
found
it?
to be helpful? What have they come back with and said? I mean, if we're going to go back and work with adults, what are some specifics that they've said that have been real helpful for them to understand their ADD and learn about it?
Specific, like, well, I'm a Barkley fan, Murphy. I read a lot of the more scholarly articles, so there's a lot of people in there, and I don't have references on here, but
Did you suggest they read their own reports and evaluations?
we go through those in session.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you use those to help
I
them
do. I want
understand.
them to understand. And, yeah, and oftentimes what I'll do is, as a psychologist, is kind of write an addendum to that report, so they have a little bit more information. There's some good people out there, but there's some really bad reports out there too. 2 pages, and they got a diagnosis, and it's just, of course they're not going to understand. One more question, and then we're going to play a little game.
Sure. You as a psychologist, and this is your personal experience and maybe in the study, do you ever raise in any way with the prescribing physician or the therapist, say if people are both seeing a coach and in therapy and in medication, do you ever recommend that there be some sort of vague working relationship?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I think it's necessary. Yeah.
And that you say you speak to the therapist to talk about the goals that the patient has set?
As long as you get consent from the patient, yeah. Okay, we're going to play the game real quick. The video, again, I apologize. I worked really hard to edit it and put in cool music and stuff, but I'll put that somehow the CHADD people will get it either on that site or, again, I have my business cards up here and they have my website on it, and I'll also link it up to that so you can get any information you need. Okay, so I know there's a lot of coaches in here, so how many non-coaches do we have? Okay, well, let's have the non-coaches. Maybe you can get one coach to kind of help you if you're struggling. But I'm going to give you some examples of things that clients come in and say to you that they want to work on. And what I want you to do is turn it into a measurable goal, so one that we can say, can we prove whether or not that you did this? And I also want you to make it a process-based goal. You remember how I was talking about outcome versus process? So making it about the behavior throughout the coaching process rather than what happens at the end of the coaching session. And I'll just give you one more brief example of that is in the video. My client was applying to colleges, and his goal was to apply to 5 colleges. That's what he kept saying. And so we had to talk about the fact, well, let's say for the next 2 months your goal is to apply to 5 colleges, you do nothing for 7 weeks, and then on week 8 you kick it into gear, you write your essays, you apply to colleges, and you complete your goal. Did you do it well? No. So let's make it more about the schedule. So we turned it into create and follow through with a schedule of applying to college. And that means every week he needs to follow through with that piece of that goal.